They said I was lucky to be alive. But as I opened my eyes in that cold hospital room and saw him holding her hand instead of mine, I realized luck had nothing to do with it. He'd made a choice that night, between me and her, and he didn't choose me. But what he never knew was, I heard everything. The day had begun like any other. A faint drizzle covered the city, making everything look softer, quieter, deceptively peaceful. I remember standing by the kitchen window, sipping my coffee, watching raindrops trace crooked paths down the glass. Ethan was rushing to work as usual, his tie slightly crooked, his phone glued to his ear. He was a surgeon, a man who lived in constant motion, saving lives while slowly letting our own life slip away. We'd been married 4 years. I used to think he was my miracle. Calm, brilliant, kind. But lately I felt like a stranger in my own marriage. Conversations had turned into short replies, dinners into silence, and his late nights at the hospital became too frequent to ignore. Still, I chose to believe him. Because love does that. It blinds you, even when the truth screams right in front of you. Then, one day, my phone buzzed with a message meant for him. He'd left it on the counter. The preview alone made my stomach twist. "See you at the conference, love. Can't wait to be in your arms again." I remember staring at those words for minutes, reading them over and over until they lost meaning. When he walked in, I asked quietly, "Who's Clara?" He froze, just for a second, but it was enough. Then came the denial, the anger, the classic turnaround. "She's just an intern, Mara. You always assume the worst." I wanted to believe that too, but something inside me cracked that day, small but deep, a hairline fracture in the foundation of our life. A week later, we attended a charity gala hosted by his hospital. I wore the black gown he once said made me look like a dream. He didn't notice this time. His attention stayed fixed on someone else. She was there, Clara. Young, elegant, her smile too warm, her eyes too sure of where she stood in his world. The way they spoke, the easy laughter, the stolen glances. My heart knew before my mind accepted it. We left early that night. The air outside was heavy with rain and resentment. The silence in the car was unbearable, thick with all the words neither of us wanted to say. Finally, I broke it. "Do you love her?" His hands tightened on the steering wheel. His jaw clenched. "Don't start this, Mara." "Then tell me I'm wrong," I said, my voice trembling but steady enough to hold his gaze. He looked at me then, that sharp, impatient look that said more than any confession could. "You're imagining things." Those were his last words before the headlights blinded us. The truck came out of nowhere, tires screeching, glass shattering, metal twisting like paper. I remember the sound, that horrible crash that silenced the world. Then pain, unbearable pain, and darkness swallowing everything. Somewhere between life and death I heard voices, muffled, frantic. Sirens, shouts, chaos. And one voice stood out among them all, Ethan's. Desperate, commanding. "She's in critical condition. Save her first," another voice protested. "But sir, your wife, do as I said, save her." In that twilight, between consciousness and nothingness, I realized what was happening. He wasn't talking about me, he was talking about her. I tried to speak, to move, but everything went cold. When I woke up, I thought I was dreaming. The smell of antiseptic filled the air. Machines beeped steadily beside me. My throat felt raw, my body heavy. Slowly, I opened my eyes. White walls, a dim lamp, and 2 figures sitting near my bed. Ethan and Clara. She was lying on a recliner, her head resting against his shoulder. Her arm was wrapped in gauze. He was whispering something to her, brushing hair from her face, the same tenderness he once reserved for me. I wanted to believe my mind was playing tricks on me, that the morphine was distorting what I saw. But then I heard him say softly, "You're safe now." I thought I lost you. And I remembered the chaos, the voice, his command to the medics, "Save her first." A sharp pain shot through my chest. My heart didn't just ache, it screamed. But I couldn't move. My voice was gone, my body trapped in a fragile shell that refused to obey. So I just lay there, silent tears rolling down my cheeks, watching my husband comfort his mistress beside my hospital bed. He hadn't even noticed I was awake. Later that day, nurses came in to check my vitals. They whispered softly, pity flickering in their eyes when they glanced at him and her. I wanted to ask questions, to demand the truth, but exhaustion dragged me back into the dark. When I woke again, it was night. Ethan was alone this time. He looked at me and froze, guilt flickering across his face. "You're awake," he said quietly. I stared at him, my voice barely a whisper. "Why her first?" He blinked, clearly not expecting me to remember. "Mara, it's not what you think." "I heard you," I interrupted, my voice trembling. "You told them to save her before me." He ran a hand through his hair, his expression torn between frustration and guilt. She was critical. "You had a chance to pull through. I had to make a call." "A call?" I whispered bitterly. "You're my husband, Ethan. That wasn't a medical decision. That was a choice." He looked away. "You don't understand." "No," I said, tears burning my eyes. "You don't." He tried to touch my hand, but I pulled away. His fingers hovered there empty, before he turned and left the room. That night, I couldn't sleep. Every beep of the heart monitor felt like a cruel reminder that I was alive only because fate decided I should be, not because he wanted me to be. Over the next few days, I watched how he hovered over her room, how he avoided mine. Staff members whispered behind closed doors. The nurse assigned to me, a kind woman named Lisa, avoided eye contact whenever Ethan entered. One night she lingered by my bedside, her voice trembling. "I shouldn't say this," she murmured, "but you deserve to know. When you both came in, you were barely breathing. He told us to prioritize her. He even stopped your transfusion when her pulse dropped." My blood turned cold. "He stopped mine?" She nodded, eyes full of regret. "He said we couldn't risk losing her. I'm sorry, Mrs. Reed, we all thought you wouldn't make it." But I did. Somehow I did. When she left, I lay there in silence, staring at the ceiling, tears soaking into my pillow. I should have died that night, and maybe part of me did. The part that trusted him, that loved him blindly, that believed marriage meant protection. By the time Ethan came to see me the next morning, something inside me had changed. I didn't yell, didn't cry. I just looked at him and said softly, "You don't have to come anymore." He looked startled. "Mara, go to her," I said. "That's where you want to." He opened his mouth and closed it. He didn't deny it. Didn't even try. He just nodded faintly and walked out. That was the last time I saw him in that hospital. And as I watched the door close behind him, I realized something. Love shouldn't have to beg to be chosen. I survived the accident, but maybe I was never meant to survive us. He chose who to save. Now it was my turn to choose who I'd become. They said time heals everything, but they never told me that healing feels a lot like bleeding quietly day after day. When I left that hospital, I wasn't walking out as a wife anymore. I was walking out as a survivor, not just of an accident, but of a love that died long before the crash. I remember standing outside, the cold air cutting into my skin, the world spinning in slow motion. The city lights blurred with my tears. Ethan didn't even come to see me leave. The man who once swore to protect me through sickness and health had already chosen someone else to stand beside. That realization was a wound deeper than any broken bone. My body healed faster than my heart. Every scar had a story, and every story whispered the same truth. He saved her, not me. But fate has a strange way of repaying silence with clarity. I rented a small apartment across town, barely big enough for my things, but big enough for peace. It was quiet, too quiet at first, but it was mine. For months, I lived like a ghost. Days bled into nights, and sometimes I'd wake up thinking I was still in that hospital bed. But then I'd see the empty room around me and remember. I was free. Broken, yes, but free. One evening, while folding laundry, I caught my reflection in the mirror. My skin was paler, my eyes dimmer, but somewhere deep inside, I saw the faintest flicker of strength. I realized I had a choice now, to drown in what happened or rise from it. So I began small. I started volunteering at a rehabilitation center for trauma survivors. The first time I walked into that building, the smell of antiseptic hit me like a memory. But instead of running, I stayed. I listened to people tell their stories, stories of pain, loss, and survival. Some had lost limbs, some had lost families, but they were still here, still fighting. Their courage began to rebuild something in me I thought was gone. One afternoon, an elderly woman with kind eyes took my hand and said, "The ones who walk through fire never come out the same, dear. But sometimes they come out stronger." That night I cried for the first time in weeks, not out of grief, but out of gratitude. Because maybe, just maybe, I was being rebuilt. Months went by. I learned to live without waiting for a message from Ethan. I stopped checking his social media, stopped imagining him walking through the door, asking for forgiveness. The silence became my comfort. Then one morning, as I was scrolling through news headlines on my phone, a name caught my eye. Dr. Ethan Reed under investigation for medical misconduct. My breath froze. The article detailed everything: prescription fraud, patient data tampering, accusations of negligence, and at the center of it all was Clara. She had been caught forging prescriptions under his name, and when confronted, she blamed him. Said he authorized it. Said he was the one who'd forced her to cover up mistakes. The man who once played God in the ER, who decided who lived and who didn't, was now at the mercy of the same system he once commanded. I thought I'd feel satisfaction, but what I felt was an odd, quiet sadness. He'd built his entire identity around saving people, but he couldn't even save himself. A week later, I was locking up the rehab center when I saw him waiting outside. His once pristine white coat replaced by a wrinkled jacket, his eyes hollow, his shoulders heavy with the weight of consequence. "Mara," he said softly, like the word itself hurt. "I didn't move. You shouldn't be here. I just wanted to see you," he murmured. "To say I'm sorry." I laughed bitterly. "Sorry doesn't change the past. I lost everything," he said, his voice breaking. "My job, my license, her. She's gone. You lost everything the night you chose her over me," I said quietly. "You just didn't realize it yet." He looked down, silent. I thought I was doing the right thing. I thought I was saving someone who needed me, and who decided I didn't. He opened his mouth, but no words came. He just stood there, guilt etched across his face. For the first time, I didn't feel anger. I felt pity, because he was finally living with the truth I had carried alone. Choices have consequences, and some can never be undone. "I've been trying to make it right," he said finally. "I even told the board the truth about that night." "Why?" I asked. "Because I couldn't live with it anymore." I studied him, the man I once loved more than myself, now just a stranger wearing the same face. "You can't undo the past, Ethan. You can only live with it," he nodded, eyes wet. "Do you still hate me?" "I don't hate you," I said softly. "You gave me the worst pain of my life, but also the strength to rebuild it." Tears fell freely down his cheeks. "I never meant to hurt you." "Maybe not," I said, stepping back, "but you did. And that pain saved me in ways you never could." He whispered, "I wish I could go back." "So do I," said. "But if we could, I'd still walk away." I turned before he could speak again, leaving him standing in the rain. The same kind of rain that fell the night of our accident. Only this time, it didn't feel heavy. It felt cleansing. Life, I realized, has a way of circling back to the same places, not to punish us, but to show us how far we've come. That night, I sat by my window, watching the city lights blink like distant stars. I took off the hospital bracelet I had kept as a reminder and replaced it with a silver ring I'd bought for myself. A symbol not of marriage or loss, but of survival, of reclaiming my worth. As I slipped it on, I whispered, "You saved her, Ethan, but life saved me." Days later, a letter arrived at my door. It was from Lisa, the nurse who once told me the truth about that night. Inside was a medical report, my report. Her note said simply, "I thought you'd want to see this before it's gone from the records." I unfolded the paper slowly. My hands trembled as my eyes caught the red-circled words near the bottom. "Patient revival unexpected. Spontaneous return of pulse after cessation of resuscitation." They had stopped trying to save me. I had died. But something, fate, God, or sheer will, brought me back. For a long moment I just stared at the words. My heart felt strangely calm. I wasn't alive because someone saved me. I was alive because I wasn't done yet. Because there was something inside me stronger than betrayal, stronger than loss. I stood, walked to the mirror, and looked at the woman staring back. She wasn't the same person who once waited for love that never came. She was stronger, fiercer, quieter, but alive in a way she had never been before, and for the first time since that night, I smiled. Because surviving wasn't the end of my story. It was the beginning sometimes. The people we love most are the very ones who break us. But it's in the breaking that we discover what we're truly made of. Ethan chose who to save that night, but life chose me. I didn't just wake up in that hospital. I woke up to myself. And that, I've learned, is the most powerful kind of survival there is.